What's up, people? I'm Jakejames Lugo, and welcome to my channel. So 2019 is coming to an end and the brand new decade is right over the horizon, but let's cap things off with one more game review before this year is over. Let's talk about Fire Shark on the SEGA Genesis. It's something classic, something retro, something cool, but definitely very interesting. Fire Shark is a vertically scrolling shooting game that was released in 1989 for arcades. Funny enough, this game is a sequel to another game called Flying Shark that was released in 1987 for multiple platforms, but Fire Shark didn't make its way to home consoles until 1990 in North America by Dreamworks. Yeah, that Dreamworks that we've talked about before. Anyway, the game is set in the year of 1991 in the Mediterranean Sea, where a nameless force builds up a giant armada called the Strange Fleet, and launches an all-out global attack. It's up to a lone fighter pilot aboard a plane named Fire Shark to combat the hostile forces and destroy the armada before it could take over the world. Here's the weird thing, however. The story changes between different regions where the game was released. In some versions of Fire Shark, the story takes place in the year 19X9, no idea what that means by the way, on an alternate version of Earth that has been attacked by a global organization called S-Corps. Before the giant conglomerate can complete their plans of world domination, a mysterious pilot flying a superpowered biplane appears and starts destroying the S-Corps forces. Because of this, the plot could get a little confusing and doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but the one thing all versions of the game have in common is how meager the story can be. For the sake of this review, we're going to look at the Genesis console version released in North America and keep things fairly simple. Now, like some games that were released at the time, Fire Shark doesn't really have a big emphasis on plot and story. It really primarily focuses on its visuals and its gameplay. And there's nothing wrong with that, sometimes all you really need is some cool visuals and some addictive gameplay to keep the game interesting and make you want to invest time with it. There are plenty of other games that came out within that era that had better plot points and stuff to get invested with. But with Fire Shark, I just found it to be much more interesting, without getting too crazy on the story. There was a lot of arcade games that really followed that same type of approach. And if I'm being really honest with you guys, the visuals of Fire Shark look pretty darn good. Things really pop out with all these different colors all over the place. There is a couple instances where some of the bullets blend in with the background, but that's not really the majority of the time. Most of the time when you're actually looking at the action on screen, it looks pretty freaking good and it's really bright and colorful and there's stuff happening all over the place. But before we take a look at anything else, let's talk about this music just for a second and just take it in because, seriously, this music is really good. Alright, let me just say that the music in this game sounds really good, and in my opinion, the Genesis music is far superior to the arcade soundtrack. It has that hard sound and grit that you would associate with SEGA Genesis games, especially early titles in the console's lifespan. The entire soundtrack is like this, but the first stage theme really gives you all you need to hear. Take a listen here real quick, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Can we get someone like Eddie Van Halen or Slash to do some of these tracks on electric guitar? Seriously, that would be amazing. Anyway, here's another track that I enjoy from later in the game, once you get more into the water theme stages. It's another one that just sounds very good and goes perfect with the action that's happening on screen. This music is just really good to listen to. I'm actually surprised at how good this entire soundtrack is with every single one of the big stage themes that you hear while you're flying around in Fire Shark. And I'm super surprised there's not a lot more remixes or arrangements of the entire soundtrack to this game. Let me know in the comment section if you guys know of certain people who would make some really good remixes to some of these music tracks, because seriously, it's very underappreciated, very underestimated. This music is just that good, people. But with all that being said, let's get into the actual gameplay proper of Fire Shark, and let's talk about everything that's good and bad about this game. Fire Shark has similar gameplay between its console port and arcade versions. You control a plane and have legions of enemies coming at you from all directions. You constantly scroll upward across different locations and take down various super weapons that appear. You'll have to shoot down blimps and other machines to collect power-ups that give you new weapons and increase the speed of your plane. This is invaluable and will mean the difference between moving on or getting blown out of the sky. Most enemies are small and nimble, shooting at you in groups that try to overwhelm you, but the bigger baddies are definitely intimidating and pack serious firepower. Tanks, fighter jets, giant cruisers, and anything else that you can think of will be converging on you. The only thing that's missing is the kitchen sink with a giant cannon on it. Oh wait, they got those as well. So how can you deal with everything like this? You have a selection of special weapons that change forms, and of course, bombs. Lots and lots of bombs. Boom! Now I know the sound from using these can get very annoying, but bombs are your best friend here, because not only are they super destructive, but can also block enemy bullets from shooting you down. The weapons you get include a blue spread that is your standard attack, a green shark beam that has a weird curve and firing speed, and of course, the red shark flamethrower that is super freaking powerful. But that's not all. Each of your standard weapons could get boosted even further by gathering blue and purple power-ups, which increases the damage of your shots and the form that they take. Each time you gather one, you'll see your bullet spread get wider and more crazy. At some point, you're literally covering the whole screen with firepower in a spectacular fashion. This looks really cool, but can easily be lost if you're shot down. Yeah, this is one of those games that really punishes you for messing up, and in later levels, that could be worse since it could be near impossible to get everything back, at least not without some good reflexes and a whole lot of luck. Overall, Fireshark has your standard shooter gameplay that was big at the time it came out, but it's definitely not without its flaws and very cheap moments. I'll admit that I agree with a lot of people when they say that Fireshark is a pretty challenging game, and it's more so challenging mostly because the instances that you end up like hitting a brick wall or getting shot down most of the time is because you're getting hit by stuff that either you just don't see coming or it puts you in a near impossible situation. This is a problem with the shmup genre in general for most shooters that are like this, where you're just getting so many bullets like thrown at you that you run out of options and you just have to take the hit and lose a life. This doesn't necessarily make things like really bad for the rest of the game, but it is very annoying to deal with certain situations like that, especially if it's really at no fault of your own and you're able to dodge certain stuff, but like everything is just stacked up against you so much that you just have to take the hit and you just have to kind of restart from where you are. The only really big problem with this game is that when you do get shot down, you lose all of your power-ups and all of your weapons, and you have to earn them all over again. That is a real big pain, especially when you kind of go back to the original kind of like standard shot that you have, and you have like no power-ups, you have no spread shot, you have none of this stuff. The game kind of throws you a bone here and there with like an extra blimp that gives you like a boost up, but not really necessarily all the time. It really puts you at a disadvantage. Now, there's a few more things I do want to comment on about Fireshark before we end this review, which I feel like a lot of people really haven't talked about all that much. Fireshark actually has multiple endings, depending on what difficulty you finish the game on. Even though I finished the game once, I don't feel it's worth going through it multiple times to get each ending, mostly because they're kinda mediocre. The easy ending just shows a bunch of random triangle dudes excited that you beat the game. What are these guys anyway? Seriously, I've got no idea what or who these things are. Anyway, the best ending that you could get on hard mode has your plane landing and everyone celebrating, while the normal ending just shows you flying over the sea. They're very meh and not worth the trouble you go through on harder difficulties. But that isn't the biggest disappointment for me, however. The arcade version of Fireshark has co-op multiplayer, which is completely missing in the Genesis version. This is a big shame and a huge missed opportunity because I feel like you would have gotten a ton more game time out of it with another player. Not only would some of the levels be a whole lot easier to play through with a friend, but it could have been really cool to see everyone dominate the screen with bullets between two players at the same time. Why this was removed could be because of the hardware limitations of the time, but seeing it done in the arcade version really makes me wonder what could have been. As is, however, there's not much here for you after completing the game once. There are 10 stages in total that repeat themselves in a loop after you finish the game the first time, all the way up to stage 100, but they're all the same stages that you know with minor adjustments to the enemies. Should you even try to go through it all and aim for level 100? Nah, in all honesty, it's really not worth it. The whole looping the same 10 stages over and over again all the way up to stage 100, it just feels so unnecessary. It's unneeded. There's no reason to do something like that. We could have been just fine just going back to stage 1 like most other games when they reset when you complete them. It's just, again, it feels like the game is just trying to gas itself up. And then also, the lack of multiplayer in this game, man. Why couldn't we get the co-op multiplayer from the arcade version? That looked awesome to play. That looked like it was a lot of fun. Why can't we get it in the Genesis port? Like, it just feels so unnecessary not to include that in this version. Other than hardware limitations, like I mentioned before, I can't really think of any other reason of why that didn't make it into the home console port of Fireshark. I mean, if you guys could think of something, let me know in the comments section, but that would have been awesome to play, having that other blue plane alongside of you, just fighting all these enemies. That would have been really cool. cool. Now, after everything that I've said, do I recommend that you guys go out and play Fire Shark for the SEGA Genesis? I think that it's an okay game. I don't think it's a must-play, even if you're a big fan of the genre. I feel like there's a lot of other games out there that do the shmup genre a little bit better. I mean, it is cool to have this great music. I think that the soundtrack of this game is fantastic, but as far as everything else that you're getting here, I think it's just standard fare. It's just okay. It's just satisfactory. Anyway, guys, those are my thoughts about Fire Shark. I hope you all enjoyed this review. This was my final review of 2019, the last review of the decade. I wanted to have a little fun with it. This is why I'm wearing red and the bandana, you know, going with the whole motif of Fire Shark and stuff. Just wanted to have a little fun with it is all. But as always, those are just my thoughts and opinions about Fire Shark or about any game that I review here. Let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comments section. Tell me, what are some of your favorite games in the shmup genre? Do you like Fire Shark? Do you hate Fire Shark? Tell me some of the best and the worst games that are part of the genre, or any other thoughts that you guys have about it down below in the comments section. With that being said, I hope you guys had a good 2019. I hope the decade was kind to you, and I hope that the new year and the new decade that we got coming very soon is just as kind and just as good to you. I'll see you guys in the brand new year. Thanks for watching this video, everyone. Go ahead and click the boxes on the side to see more videos and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to go visit my Patreon page for exclusive gaming content that I know you'll really love. Hope you have a chill day. Peace out and stay epic, everybody.